So we're going to start off with a little bit of alcohol.
A little bit of alcohol. Just a tiny bit.
Laura's speciality, especially for
My
weekends.
specialty. For weekends.
For a rest time.
That's on a Saturday night only.
She's well. There you go. Well, you just got to hope that what we're going to see happened on a Saturday.
No, hopefully.
You might have to go all the way to Portugal for that. So.
All right, let's take a trip.
All right, so we're going to talk about the mortgage rates. Yes?
We're going to talk about the wine, then we're going to talk about mortgage rates, then we're going to talk about
Failing the COVID generation.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Then we're going to talk about a Court Danilo Cavalcante, the guy that's been on the run for 2 weeks,
Oh, yeah.
the killer.
Just a quick side note, did you guys see that Louisiana or New Orleans had its first no shooting and no deaths for the first time in like 10 years? The
On
first
one
week.
day.
No, week.
Week.
For a week, yes.
No, we're going to talk about. Let's talk about
Talk
that.
about that. That's amazing.
Are we talking about deaths as far as like murders, homicides,
Yeah, homicides,
shootings?
yeah.
Got it.
No homicides, no shootings.
That's amazing.
Is that
That's good.
I think
how does New Orleans compare to like Chicago?
I think they probably Chicago's probably worse if
You know
I had
what's
to
funny?
think.
I think that
I don't
St.
think
Louis
so.
is
I think-
worse. I think they've knocked it down. Like
New Or-
Chicago.
You think
used
what?
to be.
You think St. Louis is worse?
Oh.
I visited New Orleans once and witnessed
I have
two stringless people stabbing one another.
Oh, no.
Alabama.
Where
So-
did this happen?
Wait, what?
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yes, we are. We are live.
And you're ready to bring up everything on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're live.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to rock and roll. Party time.
Let's do this.
And the Texas ladies, the Texas lone ladies are ready to go.
Yes, sir.
You are. You always sound so timid. That's why I like
Timid?
that's why I like picking on you. She just sort
Oh,
of
God.
doesn't raise her voice.
she's afraid of you
Woo-woo!
making her blush
Let's
again.
go. Let's go to Portugal.
There you go. That's more like the Laura we want to hear.
You don't want to know that, Laura.
Let it go a little bit.
Oh, is Party and Laura a different Laura?
Very.
I haven't seen that side of Laura.
It's
What?
just not.
Oh, look.
I reckon
She's getting real
I reckon
red.
Laura's
You forgot your foundation
I reckon
today.
Laura's one of these people that, party time, had a couple of drink stands on the table, and she's waving her underwear above her head and stuff like that. That's what I think.
Maybe my hat, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Let's
we know
kick it
what
off.
we know what you like in your spare time, Laura. There you go. Okay, this morning everybody. Welcome to the Olympian Table. My name's Steve Williams. I'm the host, and today, as always, we've got Courtney and Laura, who are the lone ladies of Texas, and we have Kay over there twiddling all her knobs, and I really don't know what her knobs do, but there you go. We won't go into that. She's been away for a week. And where have you been, Kay? You've been up to California.
No, I was in Arizona.
There you go. See, I'm always right.
It is. The heat there is different. But
It's
like,
dry.
It's dry, but I don't know. It's not. I can't say it's
As
know
hot
what's
as
worse.
here.
I don't know, because sometimes it'll be like, oh, it's not hot, and then you just get like, once the wind blows, then it's just like, oh my God, I can't breathe. But it's also in Arizona, the heat lasts so much longer. It's like 105 degrees until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning there.
So instead of being a steam room like here, it's just a sauna.
You couldn't live there.
I don't think so. Not with that heat. Plus, it's like, I will say though,
Is it the first time you've been there?
Yeah, it was the first time. I
Do
was
you
there.
feel that climate change is getting warmer, and do you think it is getting warmer?
Oh yeah, it's definitely worse. But I'll say it said that it was 110, but it felt like 106, which is different from here. Because it'll
Yeah.
say 106 feels like 116.
Yes.
Well, just for the record, we're supposed to be getting rain today in Houston, and we'll all be out there partying
Oh, that's
if
what
we
I-
get rain.
we're gonna start doing rain dances. Is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah,
Everybody
we
go
are.
outside and do rain
Indian
dance.
rain dances.
Yes.
Let's
An Englishman's version of an Indian rain dance.
Someone said it's 87 degrees in Texas. It's like, not to be dramatic, but Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Hey, we're supposed to have a high, or at least where I live, of around like 84, 85 tomorrow. That is amazing.
I've been walking every night, and I tell you, there was one point where we couldn't really go outside and walk till about 9 o'clock at night because it was so warm, but now it's starting to cool off. We can go outside about 8 o'clock and do the walk.
Yeah.
It's much easier. Anyway, we're going to start off with a little bit of fun this morning. Kay found us something which was pretty interesting, which was, come on ladies, have a guess what this flood is. Come on, have a guess.
Blood.
Is it blood?
It's really dark. Balsamic vinegar.
Balsamic vinegar?
I don't know. It's red. No.
No, it's Portugal red wine. And by all accounts, what's the story, Kay?
So apparently a wine distillery in Portugal, they lost like 2.2 million tons or something like that of just wine. And so it's just flooding all the streets. And it's...
So if you think about it, I think it's in gallons.
Oh, yeah.
How much does it cost for a bottle of wine? About $15,
yeah.
right? And for a gallon, you need 2 or 3
Cheap
bottles of wine.
Probably like $6.
Yeah.
Good wine, probably like $15.
Portugal wine's normally pretty good though.
So
I don't drink, so
that's like
my days of drinking are over.
liters. Okay, so that's $2 to $4 million.
Just running down.
No,
the street.
even more than that.
Plus the
It's
damage.
like
Are there
6
any
to
videos
10
of
million
people
bucks
dancing
running
in
down the
wine
streets.
No, Laura, only if you was there would you be there with a glass.
Yes.
Oh no, she'd be
No.
with buckets.
I would be doing that. What that guy's doing right there. No. Just like drip, drip, drip.
It's so funny. But yeah, I just thought that it was really
You'd be having a barbecue on one side and
No, actually, I don't like red wine. I like Chardonnay. So, but hey, if it's free, maybe. So.
Yeah, I thought.
Can't say no to free.
No, that was a good point that you brought in. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. The second thing we're going to talk about is something that I pulled from the internet, and this is just, I think this is an educational point, especially if you're thinking about buying a house, selling a house, or just a general point, or even if you're an investor. We have 2 podcasts. We have the Olympian Podcast and we have the Olympian Table, and we try to keep politics on the Olympian Table, and we keep the real estate stuff on the Texas Real Estate Show, which covers all real estate for, everywhere. But there was something yesterday that I brought up and I really couldn't understand it, and I wanted the loan lady's input into this chart because it didn't make sense. And Courtney said, one of the loan ladies, this is nonsense, and I want you to explain it if you could. Can you explain that, Laura?
Courtney.
Sorry, Courtney.
Yeah, so when you started talking about seeing the biggest drops, I was like, wait a second, we're pretty high on interest rates right now. So after actually seeing the article that you sent, yes, we had the biggest 1-day drop. So they're only accounting for 1 day in the last 3 months. They're not accounting for any of those other days that the interest rates have went up, right? So yeah, we've seen the biggest drop for 1 day drop in the last 3 months, but that doesn't account for all the other days that we have been, the interest rates have been moving up. So even with that being said, this, I looked into it, and this same, they're very much into mortgage rates. I looked back on one that they sent on August 22nd, and it literally says 30-year mortgage rates jumped to a new high. So that was August 22nd. So that was what, 2 weeks ago?
Okay. What did the mortgage rates do last Friday? And the reason why I ask you that is I sold some of my shares because they just went up nuts. I sold they went up like 10% in one day. So I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to offload some, because I'm working on the project of refurbishing a house. Is that because of? Do you think the stocks went up because there was a change like this where the interest rates go down, or do you think they're going to continue to go up?
That's $1 million question, isn't it?
That's why I asked the $1 million person.
Just keep in mind that unless you are an expert in these things, there's so many different things that are inputted to make things either go up or down, right? All kinds of data that's, updated weekly, monthly, meetings, and what's going on with the Fed and inflation rates and all this other, stuff that's going on. And then that doesn't even take into account things that, we see happen that necessarily aren't something that we can, predict. Like whenever California had some issues with their banks, that made mortgage rates kind of jump up, down, all sideways. There's things across the world when we start wars and stuff that there's no way we can predict that makes a difference in our stocks and our mortgage rates and everything else. So there's a lot of things that get inputted into it that you would have to be kind of an expert to explain it inside and out.
You see, the thing that I can't understand is, like, for example, just take today as an example. Stocks have gone up. The S&P's up, Dow's up, NASDAQ is up, the Russell 2000 is down, the cost of crude is leveled out, but inflation accelerates as oil prices surge. So that's what I can't never understand about the market, if you want to, because there's so many moving parts. It's like when unemployment sometimes goes up, stocks go up. And I'm thinking, to me, it makes more sense if more people are employed, then stocks would be stronger, because the economy would be getting stronger. But there again, I need to ask my daughter about that, because she's the one doing the international business. She doesn't share anything with me, but she's doing the international business degree, so she's in Argentina at the moment.
You have anything to put on that, Laura?
No, I mean, we have, the only thing that I have to say is, like, when people are reading these articles, to make sure that they read in detailed, read further more than just like the bold letters, because you can easily just skip through it and you're like, oh my god, you're expecting like a 5 or whatever, which is really not reality. And but like you said, there's a lot of variables that go into rates other than just increasing or decreasing. So
Yeah.
Read the fine print and look at it in context. We might have had one day great drop in the last 3 months, but you got to look at every single other day that stuff was going on to see really, is it the lowest right now? No, it's just a 1 day drop, which is great.
It literally says in like the fine print, it says 1 day after hitting a new 22-year high, mortgage rates have dropped. Like the end.
Attention
So
to
it's
detail.
like, wow, that's crazy clickbait. It's just a really good clickbait that they're getting people.
Just to click more on their page.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we get the calls that, oh, well, they said it was the lowest interest rate, so how come are you still giving me whatever, But it's because they don't read the fine print.
That's correct.
But yes, we are excited about that. Small drops. Take the small blessings.
And then the next thing that we'll sort of roll onto, it's saying that scathing new report says American schools are failing the COVID generation. A scathing new report suggests American schools are failing the COVID generation, and older students are still struggling to regain their academic footing after years of disruptions. 3 years after the start of the pandemic, COVID-19 is continuing to derail learning, but in more insidious and Hidden Ways, says the report, published Wednesday by the Center of Reinventing Public Education, a non-partisan research organization based at Arizona State University. Things are far from normal, even though students are back in school. And I really feel that the schools in America, it's a very, very poor level of education that we have in America. And actually, if you go pull it up where USA ranks, USA education ranks in the world, it's not looking good. And one of the points why I bring this up is, I make no mistake about it, I'm a college dropout. And basically, the only way a country develops, what I've learned is, one of the things how a country develops is with research and development. And with research and development, you really need to have a base of education. And rather than go to places like and getting, and this is not no way a racist comment, but going to other countries and getting people from other countries to do research and to take positions in the universities, I think is a sort of, it's a bit of a risk. Over the years with spies and different things, it's not a conspiracy theory, but I really do think that it's, it's something that I think America really needs to do when it comes to, a good level of education. I know that in Britain at the moment, education is suffering. It is definitely not what it used to be. One of the problems that I feel, countries with the best education or systems in 2020, won Denmark, Finland, Japan, Canada, Sweden, Germany, Israel, Netherlands, Singapore, South Korea.
I just think COVID derailed a lot of things, and these students were pushed to home, right? You don't get the same level of education when you're sitting at home. That's number one.
And that's the same as the workplace.
And number two, especially for the younger ones, that pushed, the teacher having to be the parents. But, every household has their own situation. Maybe both parents are working all day. Maybe they're staying with a relative that's not super, educated. And you're pushing that onto the parents. And some parents or families are just not designed to be able to help their kids with that education, whether it be time or, their own education or what. So I think that's probably why. What do you think, Laura?
I think I actually had a talk with my daughter's counselor, and something that I do every year, but mentioning this particular counselor said that there's so many new programs that teachers have had to adopt to, or be creative to make sure they close that gap of COVID. So it is challenging for teachers and for the educational staff to come up with programs and stuff like that, because COVID did affect a lot of kids, and the majority of COVID that it affected, if we look back, it was kids that were in elementary school that are now in middle school, so it's going to have an impact in our society. We're going to know COVID kids.
I feel you can learn,
and it's going to take time to catch up.
Well, I think you can learn more in a environment rather than online. That's the first thing. I know it's convenient when you're talking about Zoom and things like that, but I think you can learn more in a group. But the other thing that I want to sort of dwell on is somebody in my family works at a university institution, and it's a very, very diverse community, but for them to get some of the people in that they want for different things, like radiology and different things, they have to go abroad to get the people for the specialities. And it's like, really? Why can't we, we can't get them
Homegrown.
Yeah.
I don't know if you look at this chart, it shows all the way back to 73, so 1973 of where we were at reading and mathematics. And if you look, we've always kind of went up in an uptrend, but since COVID, we just went whew. We went right back to 73.
Well, I like watching, I'm sorry, but one of my favorite things to do is to watch YouTube. And go watch YouTube and put in stupid Americans. And then you go in and you get people that basically they will ask questions. And there was the guy who turned around and said, and can you tell me who Queen Elizabeth is? Oh, she was...
A pop star.
No. They turned around and said, oh, she was one of the Egyptian queens.
What?
That's what we should do next
That's
week.
Cleopatra.
We should
just general education.
We should do general education questions to each of us and see if we
Trivia?
know it. Yeah. Like, how many stars are on the United States flag?
50. Is that correct?
No, they changed it. They added Hawaii and what is it?
Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico. So now it's 52.
Oh, there's 52 now. Okay.
How many countries are there?
In what?
The world.
Countries? Or
Countries in the
continents?
world.
Because countries, I have no idea.
What about continents?
7.
I was going to say, yeah.
But
But-
the average reading level of an American is 6th grade. That is our reading level currently.
I think a lot of this too has to do with COVID, but also our day.
195 countries.
Also our day and age as far as electronics go.
But that's disputable, 195 countries.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the electronics thing. I think...
Because there's some countries that are out there that are terrorist organisations that aren't recognised. Palestine is one of them.
Oh, they're not recognized as a country?
I don't think so.
That's interesting. Oh, yeah. That makes sense. 3,000.
So it's very disputable to say,
It says State of Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is this is going to help me. It looks like math is really bad right now, and that's the one thing I'm good at.
There you go.
Well, there's a lot of people.
math.
There's a lot of people that are saying, "I'm glad you're good at math when you're a loan officer."
But you know what? Something also that happened during COVID was that a lot of parents, some parents, not all, but a lot of parents started homeschooling since COVID. They never let their children go back to public school because of afraid of all the massacres and stuff like
Well,
that. So, because I know I have a couple of friends that their kids never returned to school.
But to
They
be
became homeschool
honest with
after
you, I don't think that they're going to be on these scales because when you're homeschooled, or at least in Texas, I don't think you're required to take any of this testing. So,
Which is a downfall. Because
but they're
you're
not
grading everybody
even in these
equally.
statistics.
Yeah. And the problem is that they're not grading every kid
You don't have to.
equally.
You don't have to take a test if you're homeschooled.
You don't have to take
Nope.
Certain
the
tests.
STAR test
Yeah,
because the
STAR
STAR
test.
test is just to see how well the teachers are teaching the students. So it's about like what they're teaching. So like when you're homeschooled, I mean your mom's.
So what do you graduate on?
You have to take the like GED exam or the graduation. Yeah, because I left school early because I couldn't handle being in an educational institution. It was too slow for me. So I completed my
Because she was special.
Hey, I tell you what.
I do all of, like, when I went to school, I looked through the syllabus, like, the first 2 weeks, and then I did all of my work within, like, the first 3 months of school. And then for the rest of the time, I slept
I'm going to
through
say
my
something.
classes.
I'm going to say something that's totally disrespectful. Some of the students that I used to teach skating, all right, that had their dream was to become, a top skating athlete.
Mhm.
Some of them was homeschooled,
Oh, and they were crazy.
and they was as dumb as a brush.
Well,
Well,
I graduated. I took all my
I'm on
classes
about
online.
intellectually. I'm on about on a personal level. They were great kids. They were, you know.
They were idiots.
But you know the difference? Some of them were very, very well behaved.
Yeah.
They were very well behaved. Manners were good because they was always with their parents.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that was the thing. I had to go to school online, and then to graduate, I had to take a test. But I graduated a year early. So I think that,
high five to you, so did I.
yes.
You graduated 5 years early.
No, I graduated 1 year early.
1 year.
One
early.
year.
Yeah. So,
My daughter's
and I took
just.
online. They made me do all of my classes online, but it was just frustrating.
My daughter's just graduated early, doing an international business.
Doesn't she have a master's?
PhD.
Better than
An extra year. But the point is, what's the point in doing a PhD in international business?
I guess that's cool. She can say she's a doctor.
It's an MBA. I mean, an MBA is, you know, a Master in Business Administration is considered, you know, a good level wherever you go. She's in Argentina at the moment, then she's going to Colombia. I've told her you're going there to learn to be a drug lord.
I just want to chime in. I think a huge problem too.
That's
with
international
students-
business, Stephen.
That's true.
There you go. Importing and exporting.
Import and export. There you go.
Oh, goodness.
I think,
There you go. The FBI will be onto the video and they'll be locking her up.
Oh,
with
goodness.
COVID, the distractions too, like Courtney said, it's a lot of online distractions, and kids are used to having their phones in their hands. So even when they were at school during COVID, they still were like able to be on their phone.
My nephew, while he was in high school, was texting me throughout the day, at least six times a day.
Okay.
I'm like,
Let me tell you a funny story. When I said something I shouldn't have done. When my wife, when she was teaching, and some of the classes she did were online, okay, and she's doing the classes online. They've got software that when their eyes move from their screen and goes off the screen, because they could have a book open or they could have the phone open, it will take them off, and they can take the class and they can take the test. All right, I think it's twice.
Yeah.
And then on the third count, they've got to go into the school to do it. But they could tell when the eyes are on the screen came off.
I would pre-record a video of myself and just put it up.
Do you know what one guy tried? Taking a photo of himself and just sticking it up.
That's exactly what I would just pre-record a video of myself and stick that
But
up.
don't they need to see that you're breathing? I'm pretty sure if it's.
probably just tracks your eyes.
Perhaps the guy's dead.
It's just staring like this during the whole text.
Hold your breath, take your picture, and then post it there.
The distractions, and I saw something yesterday on Twitter where a student's mom texted the teacher because the student tried to get DoorDash sent to the school, and the school, of course, is not going to let DoorDash come in, because then every student would get DoorDash, and that would be insane. And so the school got upset, and the mom got upset, and she was like, well, if you get DoorDash, then why can't my daughter? And it was just a whole thing, because it was like, well, they're adults, you know, your kid is in middle school, she's 13 years old.
I mean, we
they're
have
not
school
people.
shootings. We're inviting extra people to the campus.
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing?
So it's just things like that where, you know, I feel like kids have also gotten used to feeling like they're equal because
Entitled.
exactly
It's
because
just Americans that are entitled.
they have been disposed to everything on TikTok all the time. They're exposed to adult things all day, every day. Kids don't even look
Because
like kids
Americans have a lot of luxuries out there that they don't appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really entitlement. It's just that, you know, we're lucky enough to have things that other
Taken for granted.
and we just take them for granted.
Yeah.
You know, so perhaps entitlement is really the wrong word. But anyway, I want to talk about one of my heroes. I want to talk about Winston Churchill, and we're going to talk about a little bit of politics. In the week, there was a Republican. Can you pull it up on the screen? Can you? Oh, that's so funny. My goal my goal for this year is to actually learn, because I didn't learn last year.
Yeah, that's what. And I was like, that's so sad. And then the other one says about the teacher being too tired because she had to, I don't know, teach too many kids at once. But someone was like, that's why the gym teachers are teaching science now, because like it's just so.
And we've got a shortage of teachers in Houston.
In Houston and in Oklahoma, a lot of teachers actually quit
because of the takeover. Yeah.
So.
But I just wanted to talk about a little bit of politics, Laura's favourite subject. And basically was a Republican in the week had basically quoted that Winston Churchill had made a comment, if you're not a liberal when you're 25, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative by the time you're 35, you have no brain. And that was something that Winston Churchill never ever said. So I would love to know who, the guy originally said it was Paul Addison of Edinburgh University made the comment. Surely Churchill can't have used the words attributed to him. He'd been a conservative at 15 and a liberal at 35 and would have talked so disrespectfully, who is generally thought to have been a lifelong liberal. So I thought that was, because Winston Churchill was one of our greatest presidents. He really was. The International Churchill Society.
What makes him great?
Well, you've seen us through the Second World War. You know, I mean, when the Germans were blitzing London, you know, every night and everything. You ever seen the film The Battle of Britain?
No.
You ought to see it. It's free on YouTube. It's a really good movie, and it's pretty accurate.
A lot of his pictures that I'm seeing on here, he looks mad.
He didn't mess around. I mean, he was privileged. He grew up in a privileged family. You know, but at the time, you know, we'd just been through World War I, and then he pulled everybody together. He wasn't a liberal. He was on the right side of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, it was a different time. But he goes through the war. I mean, it was a very, very difficult time, and
looks like he loved his cigars.
He did. And then, what was the American president at the time? I think it was Eisenhower. Eisenhower, you know, everybody said, oh, well, you wouldn't have won the war if it wasn't for the Americans. That's not exactly true, because America didn't enter the war till 41, 42. What was basically happening, you know, you only got in when you had the Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor. But the truth of the matter is, you did supply the Brits with a lot of ammunition and all the other stuff, which is happening with Ukraine at the moment, and it's just repeating itself, because that's exactly what the USA and the Brits are doing for Ukraine.
He was born in 1874, Winston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will never forget, as a kid, I'll never forget his funeral. Yeah, they put his coffin on a boat and he went down the Thames.
What?
They put his coffin on a boat.
Uh-huh.
And they put the boat went
like
through London, through the Thames, which is a river,
Yep.
Okay.
to his resting place.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were giving him
I thought it was
Viking send-off.
Yes.
That's
That's what I thought. That's what's like.
He deserved one. He deserved one.
That's what I exactly pictured, Kate.
It's one of the most attended funerals that's ever happened, apart from Queen Elizabeth. Anyway, let's talk about this guy in Pennsylvania manhunt. They finally today announced that they'd captured Danilo Calvolante. How did this guy get out of the prison? That's what I want to know.
I wonder if he had any help. Did they give details on how he got out?
Normally what they do, by all accounts, is they have relations with female prison
Hey,
officers.
It could have been male guards as well.
Well, it might have been if it was that way intended. I'm pleased to be able to report the extraordinary work of law enforcement, which it is. But I mean, they've been after this guy for a long time.
Oh, he was a convicted murderer and sentenced to life in prison last month. Man, he escaped quick. He was only in there for like less than a month.
That's what I'm saying. He's like a little snake. I mean, he can get his way out whichever way he wants to go.
He didn't even have time to romance a prison guard. I don't know how he got out of there.
Do you know how they had to get him? Okay, they had...
They had to zero in on him on a thermal image.
Yeah, they had a burglar alarm at a residence went off shortly after midnight, and an aircraft using night vision technology picked up a heat signal nearby.
Look at the picture of his escape. Look at him. This is him.
Escaping?
It says he escaped in he.
No, he's in the corner.
Wait, is this not
No,
him?
he's up there.
He's right here.
Are you sure?
Courtney, look at the picture.
Look at the picture.
His hands
Oh,
are
I
in
see
the
him
red
now.
wall. His feet are in the...
All I can
Gray
think of
wall.
is dun dun
On
dun dun
August
dun
31st,
dun.
Cavalcante crab
Mission
walked
Impossible.
between two walls. He crab walked before.
Hey, this man
Hold
is
on,
talented.
Say it again?
Look, can you see him in the picture?
I can see the picture. I've got it in front of me.
Right. Okay. He crab walked in between the walls to escape. That's that is so ridiculous. That is the funniest picture of someone escaping.
Oh, so they're walking upside down?
He is tiny.
No, do you
He is
see
only
right here?
5 foot and 120 pounds.
Do you see him above the door, Stephen?
Yes.
Yeah, 120 pounds. Oh my God, that's how he got out.
Because he wasn't a fat ass like me.
Courtney, you are so right. Because this first picture of him, look at how small he is.
He is tiny.
So small.
Is that the cute little tiny prison escapee?
They probably thought he was a kid. That's why they didn't arrest him. Nobody could find him.
Crab walked between the two walls to escape the Chester County prison before he was set to be transferred to a state facility. Well, I don't think I'll be making that mistake again.
And it says it was the second time this year that an inmate escaped from this same prison. So they just need to up their security.
Up their security?
Do you know how easy it is to become a corrections officer?
No.
It's very easy. Anyone can do it. Because you don't need any requirements, and a lot of correction officers are like teenagers because they get paid extremely well. But the turnaround rate is so high. Like, I knew a guy who used to work
Why?
at
Because
Foot
they
Locker,
get
and then he became a
because
correction
they get stabbed and or
Yeah, because it's really dangerous, you know, because they see your face and now you're just there. It's just like supremely easy. There are no requirements. You don't have to go to any type of schooling or anything. You can just
To be
apply.
what exactly?
A corrections officer, a prison guard.
I can't believe
No,
that.
thank you. I'm good.
You literally don't. It can be anybody. Like, let's see. Let's look up.
He went over the razor wire. Interesting.
A correctional officer. You must be a U.S. citizen or an immigrant with lawful status. You must be 18 years old, and you must have a high school diploma or a state or military issued GED. That's it.
I'm good.
That's it. And
Is that what we're gonna have since we have a shortage on teachers?
They need.
They're gonna
but that's-
lower down
that's
the requirements.
That's the point. That's the point it's getting to.
the training normally lasts about 6 weeks in Texas. 6 weeks. Getting your GED is 6 weeks at a time.
I'm sorry, but if I was a correctional officer, I would want some better fighting skills just in case my butt gets in a bad situation.
Right.
What do you think, Steven?
I just think there needs to be better protection for them.
Okay,
And
so salary is For correction officer 1, it's 29 to 44K. For 2, correction officer title 2, it's 32 to 49. 3, it's 35 to 55. 4 is 37 to 58. And 5 is 42 to 67.
Well, no wonder they're smuggling stuff in.
Exactly.
They need the extra pay.
You need the extra cash, and I mean, for
And that
a high
was
school
as
student,
of September 1st, 2023. So, a couple of
My
days ago.
goodness.
It's
No,
not
it's not
enough.
enough.
But if you really
But-
need a job, it's better than
And
McDonald's.
the other part to consider is there's more incarcerated people, percentage of,
Yeah.
in this country than what there is in any other country.
I just think and it says if they're running low on corrections officers, you will be hired within a week to 2 weeks of applying.
I'm good.
So
They give out bonuses too for hiring.
they do. And
Bonuses for what?
A higher bonus.
so a lot of there was I used to work at a marketing company, and one of the warehouse guys, he was like, yeah, I used to be a corrections officer, but now I can get hired anywhere because people don't know how easy it is to become a corrections officer. So people are like, oh, you were a corrections officer. So they automatically think he has like a higher status than what he does. And he's like, yeah, I've just never had a job before, and it was just very easy for me.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's why they're escaping. That's,
Wow.
you can...
And the other problem is you've got private companies running prison facilities. That's another problem.
Very true.
Because what do? They cut costs to make more money.
Yeah.
Hey, there's one thing I want to talk about before we wrap up. You know these poker centers that are in Houston and springing up everywhere?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed they've started to close down?
Yes, the one that I used to.
I know it did. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because you mentioned to me, didn't you, how did you know they've got these poker centers now where you don't play against the house, correct?
Mhm.
How does it work, Kay?
So
How have they got around the rules? Because that's all it is. It's a loophole in the rules.
yeah, so it's considered a sport here, and so the house doesn't make any money. You're not playing against the house. You're just playing against all the other players.
And how
So-
do you know you're not playing against the house?
They know that they're not playing against.
There's
the
a
house,
membership
but
fee,
yeah,
isn't
you
there?
pay-
Isn't there? You
pay like
you pay a
$20
membership
month.
to the institution.
Right. And yeah, you just pay $20 or you pay $10 to actually get in to play. And then that's it. And so it's considered a sport because the house is not making any money off of the actual poker tournaments. They're making money off of you getting drinks or...
So why are they shutting them down?
Because they're not turning over, they're not making the money, they're not getting
making
people
money.
in the doors.
No.
It started off as an incredible craze. They was open and met everywhere, wasn't they?
Yes, they were. They were.
And then you had mentioned one to me, which was sort of on my way home, because I asked you about it, didn't I? I said,
Yeah.
where's this? And I drove past it the other day and it's all boarded up.
So I did marketing for this poker place, and what they did was they spent the first weekend $500,000 they gave away. So it was like there was just tons of money on the table. It was a super busy weekend, but it was only for that weekend rather than them spreading it out to where, over the course of a month giving away $500,000. But they only did it for one weekend, and then after that, nobody came back. No one came back because they got their money. So I think after 3 weeks, business just completely stopped. Nobody is there anymore. But yeah,
The reason why I was asking, how do you know if you're playing against the house or others, is because I've seen on the news that they raid these places and shut them down because they're illegal gambling. So that's always like, how are people supposed to know they're playing against the house or they're playing against the people?
Well,
that are
if we're playing against one another, then chips are mine. That's how it'd be done. So you'd have the dealer would be there, which would be, whatever, and you might.
Yeah, but how do the cops really know which ones to raid and which ones to not?
I think they'd have under people there, to be perfectly honest.
I think so too.
That's the only way they could do it, is undercover.
just to see how they're kind of moving, because I just think it's interesting.
I've never been to
I
one
think
of those
it's
places,
easy.
but I have seen where
I
they
think
shut
it's-
them down, and I'm like, but now that you said there's like against the house and against the people that are there,
It's
I'm like,
it's
well, how do they
easy.
know?
It's easy to find out.
I guess when you're there, it's probably easy to find out. I don't think that
Yeah.
this place that we're talking about got shut down because of that. I just think it got shut down because
For bad management.
Just to
Yeah.
make money. I don't know. I don't like gambling.
No. My dad liked gambling. He went to Vegas with $32,000 and came back with 183.
Cool.
$183,000 or $183?
183,000.
Awesome.
His brain was. Yeah. He.
I would have came back with $183.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
I might be good at math, but
there was times when he came back and he lost all his money.
yeah.
But he was a mathematician.
so once again
like
you
you.
have to look into context. How much has he really spent over a lifetime, and how much did he really get back out of doing that?
Well, a statement I'm going to make. He never, believe it or not, on the whole, I don't think he lost money because he knew when to stop. He would always give himself a limit, and that's where gamblers lose control of it, because
They think just one more, I can win
one
more.
more, if I just do one more, and then he puts him in a bigger hole. And my dad would get to the point where, rest his soul, that what he would basically do, he'd get so far that whenever he came to America, we always met in Vegas. He would never come to Houston. I don't like Houston because all you do is put me in Home Depot so I buy things for your house, and then basically. So we used to meet him in Vegas. We used to go to Vegas, and the thing I used to like about Vegas was, because Vegas has changed so much, is the cheap buffets. I used to sit down with him at the roulette table. He had a system, and he said, "I will never tell you the system because you do not have the discipline that I have." I felt like saying, "Thanks, Dad."
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was, I used to sit down with him and get free coffee, free drinks. You know,
You'd be like,
free
go ahead,
sandwiches.
spend your money. I'll just sit
I
here
used to
for the
sit
free
down with
food.
him.
Just pretend like you're
And he used to, always tip the people. I mean, he was a very generous man.
Yeah, when I gamble, I'm also a quitter. So I'm like,
The only thing I gamble on is the lottery, and the lottery tonight is what, $5.75.
I don't gamble. I don't play the lottery. So.
It's the only thing I get to. I don't put too much on it. Anyway, I guess that's it for this week. Is that it? You sure?
Yeah, I guess.
So from Steve Williams, the host, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We would love to hear from you in the comments. Please, put your comments, anything you want to talk about. We'd be more than happy to take them comments. We'd also like to thank Kay for...
I'm just laughing at your mic stand going rogue.
Okay. I thought you were sniffing dope in the corner or something. Why she was going down, I'm
No,
thinking...
she's laughing at you having a fight with your microphone.
It just looks so funny on the screen.
I'm thinking, are you sniffing dope over there in the corner? I didn't know she was into that. Okay. Anyway, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the Olympian Table. As always, go out there, have some fun, enjoy the weather, and we wish you health, happiness, and be good to your family, enjoy your family. Ta-ta for now.
There you go. I was waiting for it.